The currency you trust may not be forever. The US dollar is everywhere. Oil is priced in it. Debt is issued in it. Trade settles in it. For nearly 80 years, the dollar hasn't just been a currency. It has been the operating system of the global economy. And yet, something strange is happening. Not loudly, not suddenly, not on the news every night, but quietly. Countries are trading without the dollar. Central banks are reducing dollar reserves. New payment systems are forming outside US control. So here's the uncomfortable mystery. Why would the world walk away from the most powerful currency ever created? And even more unsettling, what happens if this trend doesn't stop? How the dollar became king. To understand what's breaking, we must understand what was built. The dollar didn't become dominant by accident. It emerged from chaos. After World War II, Europe was destroyed. Factories were rubble. Currencies were worthless. America stood untouched, industrially dominant, militarily unmatched. In 1944, world leaders met at Bretton Woods, and they made a deal. Bretton Woods and the birth of dollar power. Under Bretton Woods, global currencies were pegged to the US dollar. The dollar was pegged to gold. The US became the world's monetary anchor. This gave the dollar something priceless. Trust, backed by power. The US promised stability. The world accepted dollars. Trade exploded. But the system had a flaw. It depended on American discipline. The first crack. As decades passed, the US began spending more than it earned. Wars, social programs, global military presence. Foreign governments held dollars. Gold reserves shrank. By 1971, the math broke. President Nixon made a historic move. He ended the dollar's link to gold. The dollar became fiat, backed not by metal, but by confidence. And for a while, that was enough. The petrodollar era. After gold, the US needed a new anchor. It found one in oil. Through deals with Saudi Arabia and OPEC, oil would be priced in dollars. Surplus dollars would be recycled into US assets. The petrodollar was born. Now, every country needed dollars to buy energy. This locked in global demand. The dollar became unavoidable. Why this was so powerful? Dollar dominance gave the US a superpower no empire ever had. The ability to export inflation and debt. America could print money, borrow cheaply, run massive deficits, and the world absorbed it. Because there was no alternative. Weaponizing the dollar. Here's where the story turns. The dollar wasn't just a currency. It became a weapon. Sanctions, asset freezes, payment system control. The US realized if trade runs through dollars, then dollars can be denied. Iran, Russia, Venezuela, Afghanistan. Reserves were frozen, access was cut, trade was crippled, and the world noticed trust begins to erode. From that moment, every country asked a dangerous question. If it happened to them, could it happen to us? Trust the dollar's real backing began to weaken, not collapse, just crack. De-dollarization begins. No country announced, "We are abandoning the dollar." That would be suicidal. Instead, they hedged. Bilateral trade in local currencies, gold accumulation by central banks, alternative payment systems, currency swap agreements. China and Russia traded in yuan and rubles. Gulf states discussed oil sales outside dollars. BRICS talked about settlement currencies. Slow, cautious, deliberate. Why this is happening now? Three forces accelerated the shift. 1. Exploding US debt trillions printed. Deficits normalized. Confidence strained. 2. Sanctions overuse. The dollar stopped looking neutral. 3. Multipolar power. The world no longer has one center. The dollar's dominance relied on no alternative. Now, alternatives are merging. What a weaker dollar means. This doesn't mean the dollar disappears, but dominance isn't binary. It fades. If demand weakens, borrowing becomes expensive, inflation becomes harder to export, living standards face pressure. America's privilege wasn't permanent. It was conditional. Why confidence can't be forced. The U.S. can. Raise interest rates, tighten policy talk tough, but trust can't be commanded. Once countries diversify reserves, they rarely reverse. This isn't rebellion, it's insurance. Empires and currencies. History is brutal on reserve currencies. The Dutch guilder faded. The British pound lost dominance. The Roman denarius collapsed. Each fell not overnight, but slowly as confidence shifted. The pattern is clear. This is not a collapse story. Let's be precise. The dollar isn't dying, but it is aging. Its share shrinks, its power diffuses, its leverage weakens. The world is moving from dollar monopoly to currency pluralism that changes everything. What comes next? 3 possibilities. Gradual erosion, the most likely financial shock. If confidence snaps, managed to transition. If the U.S. adapts. Which path unfolds depends on discipline. History suggests discipline is rare. 3. Clear takeaways. 1. The dollar's power was built on trust, not just strength. 2. Weaponizing finance has consequences. Fear spreads faster than policy. 3. Reserve currencies don't fall, they drift. Until one day, they aren't central anymore. The silent risk, the most dangerous moment for a system, is when people stop believing in its permanence. Not panic, not collapse, just quiet preparation. By the time the change is obvious, it's already too late. If you want more deep system-level breakdowns of how money, power, and empires actually work, subscribe, because the future of the dollar won't be decided by headlines. It will be decided quietly.